Welcome to Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports, where husky middle-aged men share insight on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts right now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports. We have a special show today because we have a very special guest, Jason and Mike, here with Mr. Bruce Cunningham. I guess, Bruce, it's okay to say Baltimore media legend, maybe?
You know what? I heard that a lot when I retired, and I tell people every time I hear that, I say the same thing. If I'm a legend, then you need to start running with a faster crowd.
Oh, man.
You know, I mean...
I told Mike that.
I got up and went to work every day for 31 years. That's what I did, you know.
I'm very jealous of that. That sounds outstanding. Obviously, you were with FOX45 since its inception, in 1991, I believe?
91. Yeah.
And then did Sports Unlimited there. You were the Ravens PA announcer for, 20 years?
Yeah.
Wow. The Colts, you were one of the broadcasters on the Stallions with Mr. Joe Washington as well. And then tons and tons of awards. What else have you got?
You left out the first 2 years of the Ravens.
That's right.
Scott, Tom, and Bruce. You know.
Oh, that's outstanding. I love it. Well, what was your favorite out of all of that? Do you have one favorite gig that you had?
It's got to be that first Super Bowl in 2001, and I'll tell you why. I mean, we were there when the whole thing started, you know, when the trucks pulled up, you know, that first mini camp where they wore the white uniforms, you know, because they didn't even have a name yet. And then Jonathan Ogden, they hand him a jacket that says Baltimore because they don't even have a jersey for him. But just to watch it grow from that in 5 years, which is remarkable. And to have those guys holding the Lombardi Trophy, that's the most special thing. The second one was nice. The Grey Cup was nice. All that was fun. But my gosh, think about that time frame, 96 to 2000, how much they got done. You know, it was remarkable. And that team, you know, I got into an argument the other day with some Bears fans about two things. Number one, I feel like in 96, the Ravens using number ones on Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis was the best use of two number ones, you know, in the same round ever. And the Bears fan came back and said Butkus and Gale Sayers were both number ones in the same round, you know, same year. And I said, wow, that's pretty good. So we start breaking it down. And the difference was that Butkus and Sayers never went to a playoff game, even one. Neither one of them played in a playoff game. All right. So I said all that to say this. 85 Bears. They love the Bears fans. They're adamant. That's the best defense ever. I brought up the drive chart from Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl the Ravens were in. Every single Giant possession ended in a punt or a turnover. Every single possession was a punt or a turnover. That's like throwing a perfect game, right?
That's right.
You can't play better than that. So all of that, that's got to be the biggest thrill. But it was also a thrill to sort of give birth or help give birth to FOX45. You know, stations had never done news on a big level before, and you know they looked all over the country. They brought 40 of us in, and we didn't even have a building. We met at the Cross Keys in a ballroom for the first month or two while they're finishing the building, and everybody was the same age. Everybody had the same ambition, and we were just ready to kick ass. We got on the air, and nobody watched. Nobody. We got a year in, and we got a 1 rating. And the news director brought in champagne. We're in business. We got a 1 rating. Now, since then, of course, it's grown, and they're a behemoth now, and they're a dominant number one in most of their newscasts. And it was just a lot of fun to be a part of that. And I never expected to be the last man standing, and I was of that original group. I stuck around the longest. So I don't know. I just never wanted to leave. You know, the ambition I had got me to Baltimore. And that's all I ever wanted, and it all worked out, I suppose. You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, I remember you growing up on the radio, and I listened to your radio show a lot, and I know you have that tagline, Baltimore, I love you madly at the end that you say, and you always had a way of just making me and the person you were talking to, the listeners who called in, feel super comfortable. and I could tell you could disarm really well, and you had this really calm, kind way about you. And so my question for you is like, how did you establish that, and how did you come about loving Baltimore madly? When did that come into play?
Right. First part, radio is a one-to-one medium. It's just like me talking to you, in church or at a restaurant or whatever. It's one-to-one. And you want to be nice to people and you want to be pleasant. And that kind of comes through in the radio. Radio was my first love. That's how I broke into business. I used to scream and play the hits, Afternoon Delight ran me right out of radio, honest to God. I couldn't take any more after that. But it's a natural flow. And I take too many calls on my show. Management doesn't like it, but that's what the show is. I want to hear from you. Let's go back and forth. And I believe in being nice to people. Why do I love Baltimore madly? As I told you guys before we started, I'm a military brat. I don't have a home. And I desperately wanted a home. And I've been here 35 years now. So this qualifies as home. And I love Baltimore madly because it's home. And I love the people. And I just love everything about it. And I don't mind saying it. Some people tell me it's corny, but I don't care. It's just what I do. I'm excited because I'm about to go home.
Right.
Tom Snyder used to say on the Tomorrow Show, he said, we do these shows so we can go home. Remember that.
That's right.
So I'm happy when I say it because I got the keys in my hand,
Understood.
Well, you are one of quite, I feel as though as listeners, as readers of sports in Baltimore, radio shows, we've been very blessed to have a lot of guys over the years come here and then come through here.
Yeah.
We've been lucky enough to talk to Steve Molesky, Peter Schmuck, and we hope to keep it going. You were next in line. We want to talk to Scott Garceau. but you have a relationship over the years with all these guys, with Jerry Sandusky and Mark Viviano. What's it like to have all that?
We're close. We're very close. Vince Bagley set the tone. The legendary Vince Bagley at Channel 11. His attitude always was we should all be friends. We're up against the news people. We're up against weather going along and all that. We should all be friends. And we all kind of adhered to that. And I don't have three better friends in the world than Scott and Mark and Jerry. We commiserate, we understand what each other. I always had an advantage on them because I was on earlier, so I kind of took that in stride, But the thing about those three other guys that I mentioned, the one thing about the Baltimore TV market, especially with sports, is that people didn't leave. They didn't leave for years and years and years and years. Viv, the night I retired, we had a little going away thing in Hamden, and Viv came by and said he had done the math, and he said that because Jerry was there, and he said the three of us, it was something like 89 years combined in the market, and that's pretty unheard of. But it's just a good place to do sports, sports guys don't want to leave here. It's great,
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah. You got baseball in the summer, you got the Ravens in the fall, and then you got the Terps. You don't have an NBA team and a hockey team to juggle and all of this stuff. And where am I going to come up with all this airtime? No. It's Ravens, Orioles, Terps. What could be better,
Yeah. And that's the cycle that Jason and I love. We live and breathe, and growing up here and listening to you and FOX45 News at 10 and all that kind of stuff. How it was all different than
I did it with Maddie. Did you listen back in those days?
Yes. That's when, that was great. And then Scott obviously transferred. Oh
my gosh. Maddie, we would always do it from a restaurant, and he loved calamari. He would always order fried calamari, and he'd order the food. And then of course it would come during the show, and I would lose him for 20 minutes while he enjoyed it. People would be calling in, hey, Tom, what do you think about it? I said, Tom can't talk right now. Calamari came, but what a guy. And then traveling with him and Garceau doing the Ravens, they're the funniest comedy team in history. You would never know from the way Garceau broadcasts and his persona on the air. He is the funniest guy that ever lived, Scott Garceau. And Maddie is his perfect foil. And I'll give you an example. We're on a Ravens flight, and the flight attendant comes by with the drinks like they do. And she didn't ask Tom. And Tom's grumbling, and Garceau, without missing a beat, said, could you give my dad a bottle of water? And it just never ends. They assign seats on the team plane, and they have these little labels, gum labels that they put on the seats. And the reason they do that, there's a scientific reason, because these guys are so big, you got to manage the weight distribution in the plane, so they very scientific. Well, the game became instantly, how many of these labels can we get on Maddie's back? And I think the record was 11. So one more quick postscript to that. We're traveling and Maddie's criticizing us. Yeah, you bring too much on the road. You got to pack light. I travel, I pack light. Comes to the game the next day, and he's got one of those labels up in the crotch of his pants. We're dying laughing. We can't even breathe. We're laughing. And he's like, what? Man, so many great stories. So many.
Oh, that's great.
It was the funniest funeral when he died. It was the funniest funeral I ever attended. Just story after story after story. In 1965, the Colts lost to the Packers on that infamous wide field goal, which led to the NFL putting in the yellow high goalpost that they have now. Well, Bill Curry, was on that Packer team and then went to the Saints in the expansion draft. And then the Colts traded with the Saints to get Curry. So he's brand new. He's in the locker room. And he said, everybody's already on the field. And he sees Matty. So he goes over, he says, hey, Tom, I'm Bill Curry. He said, the first thing out of Matty's mouth was, where's my money?
That's great.
It was so funny. But one sad thing, and we can keep this jocular, but I do want to mention this. At his funeral, there were only about 4 of his teammates there, which really surprised me because he was so outgoing and everybody loved him and everything. Then I started counting widows. I counted 18 widows in that funeral. So that made me curious, and I went back and researched the team, the 68 Colts that lost to Joe Namath in the Super Bowl. Everybody remembers that, right?
Right.
30% of those guys dead from CTE. 30%.
Oh, wow.
Does that get your attention? And I'm talking Bubba Smith and John Mackey and Mike Curtis. I mean, big names. And now, but see, the helmets back then, all they had was webbing. They were probably getting their bell rung and they're getting a catastrophic brain injury. And now when you hear about guys going into concussion protocol and all that, that's exactly why they're doing it. It's frustrating sometimes, but 18 widows, that was a lot. And 30%, that's also quite a bit, Sorry,
good heavens.
Down, but
no.
Maddie.
No, it's a real issue, and I'm glad that it's brought to light. I think more and more, and I work in the high school and I see what they do with these helmets. And I mean, every 3 years they're cycling them through and they're making sure they're inspected and they refurbish them, and it's so important. It gets lost, and think about the technology that's changed, like you said, over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and now how much better they are now. And now you see the guy like Romeo Dobbs with the giant.
They hate him. The players hate him. They can't stand him. But they were.
He looks like a Super Mario character that the helmet grew when he.
Have you ever been on a team? You don't want to give your teammates ammunition.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, that's all day at practice, So
correct.
Oh, no.
Yes. So Bruce, you got where did you get your broadcasting start is my question for you.
All right.
And then lessons learned early on that you now live by today, like kind of where you would go from there.
Man, oh man. We had where I went to high school in York County, Virginia. It's a wealthy school system because there's a lot of military around there in NASA. So the government just pumps money into the school system. They had a 50,000 watt FM radio station at that high school. And I'm talking to somebody in the hall, and the guy that ran the station heard me, and he said, hey, and I said, okay, sure. And so freshman year, I'm in there on WYCS FM, and it progressed. And then, I broke into professional, and I was a disc jockey screaming and playing the hits. It's funny, in those days, if a disc jockey was really popular and left, he would leave his air name behind. And whoever they hired, I was like the 5th Rusty Ford at one station. It's funny because if you talk to guys from those days, like if I call up one of my coworkers from that station, they'll say, hey, Rusty, how you doing? It's just the way it was. But and then I got tired of Afternoon Delight and in that little room in those same 40 records over and over and over. So I was going to college anyway. I was going to VCU. And that summer I had gotten a job doing PA for the Peninsula Pilots of the Carolina League. You wouldn't have heard of them, but they're now the Wilmington Blue Rocks, which a lot of people Okay.
Yeah.
They moved up there. But so I had done that summer, and I get to VCU, and I hear they need a PA announcer. And so I went to see the athletic director. I said, well, I just did this season of minor league. He said, you're hired. $750 a game or whatever it was. I don't remember. Well, I'm halfway through the season, and it's halftime. So I get up to, take a squirt, and guy comes up and he introduces himself. He's from the ABC affiliate in Richmond, and he says, we got a weekend job open. Would you be interested? And I said, well, let me think about it. Yes. Went down an audition and got the job, and it was about 6 weeks before my 19th birthday, which is about the most intimidating thing I can think of. But it also tells you what kind of shape that station's in. They're going to put an 18-year-old kid on the air. But the guy that tapped me on the shoulder ended up coming here. You guys are too young to remember him, but he was Randy Blair, who was at WJZ, and he died of a heart attack playing in a charity basketball game. And so that's always a neat postscript. And then from there, I stayed. I worked on TV in Richmond at 2 stations for like 3 years. And then I got the chance to go to Mobile, Alabama, and work for Jack Dries, who was a former network guy. He'd done everything. He'd done the Super Bowl and the Kentucky Derby and all that. He had bought a radio station down there and was going to retire, but he got bored. So they needed somebody to do weekends for him. So it was like throwing Brer Rabbit in the briar patch. It was the best in a couple of years you can imagine. And we had the best time. And then from there, I went to Birmingham and then to Baltimore. I spent the entire decade of the 80s in Alabama. I covered Bear Bryant's last 3 years, the ascent of Bo Jackson and all of that. I don't know if you guys realize this, but in 1985, Auburn had Bo Jackson, Frank Thomas, and Charles Barkley on campus at the same time.
Oh, man.
Isn't that crazy? And here's the weird thing. Of the 3, most people would say, yeah, Bo's probably the biggest star, right? He's the only one of the 3 that's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I got to see a lot of really cool things. And then I heard this job was, I didn't want to be in Alabama anymore. My kids were my parents' only grandchildren and wanted to get closer to home. And I heard there was a startup in Baltimore. So one of our photographers at the station in Alabama was from Baltimore, and he was going to drop a tape off. And I gave him mine. I said, drop it off too. And then Mark Pimentel calls me a couple of months later. He's the news director at FOX45. And I was the second one they hired. Deborah Weiner was first, and she kills me with that all the time. But it just was great. The first guy I did sports with, you might remember Max Morgan. Max had the best voice ever. Max Morgan. But the funniest guy, and we just laughed and laughed. And when I look back at 31 years at Fox 45, most of it is laughing. I mean, everything was all the time. But what a great way to make a living. But towards the end, and I've talked about this before, but Fox, when Fox started putting sports on in prime time, okay, it's Fox, we're going to be Fox, that means that they're going to do like an hour post-game show, so let's say it's a World Series game, and let's say it goes 10 innings. So you go on the air at 10, right? If you're there waiting to do the news, well, it gets to be 12:30, 1 o'clock, and the game's winding up, and okay, here we go. And then they go to commercial, they come back, post-game show, 45 minutes, an hour. And I mean, I got tired of getting home at 3 a.m. I had got past 60, and I said, I'm not going to live this way anymore. So my contract came up, and, I was ready to leave it behind, and I did. And I got my life back, and I love it. I don't stay up late anymore. I'm an old man now. I'm the happiest old man you ever saw.
Oh, that's outstanding. I love it. Well, I guess you were mentioning before we jumped on that your family, you still have family from up in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
And and I know they just
not only that, my father-in-law also.
Oh, that's right.
And they have a family reunion every August. And we try to go most years. And my job at the reunion is Ravens Pinata.
Oh, that's great.
You remember that scene in Airplane when they're all lined up to slap the screaming woman? That's what it's like at that family reunion. They got pipe wrenches and they like to talk about the 6 rings. But I always come back with this one, and they don't like this at all. Baltimore has 5.
That's right.
58, 59, 71, 2000, 2012. That's 5 rings. All right. Well, you can't claim them because no. The Colts, what was their first name? when they got those rings. And then I also like to remind them that some of those 6 rings they have are getting a little dusty. You know, they don't.
Oh, that's right. I bring that up because of last night's game. Could have used.
You know, it's the
Sebastian to
Steelers and
grab
it's
one.
December, and you know what's
I know.
going to happen. You know,
I do.
You know, I was sitting there watching that game last night, and I said, well, maybe because Anthony Weaver's a good friend of mine, and he's the defensive coordinator for Miami, and they were snarling for a while last night. They were playing pretty well. So I was feeling pretty good, but then it hit me. I said, it's the Steelers. It's December. That damn Aaron Rodgers, and there's still the 4th quarter to play. You know, where's the suspense? There isn't any. You know,
that's right.
The division's going to come down to that final game. I'm convinced of that. The Ravens and the Steelers, and that's the way it should be. And the Steelers are probably going to beat them again. You know, I was shocked by what I saw Sunday. I went on the air Saturday, and I thought they would lose all 4 of their remaining games. You know, coming off of that back-to-back with the Bengals and the Steelers, they just looked like crap. You know, there was no reason to feel encouraged at all. But I didn't expect that. But I think the bigger story from that game was Burrow just quit. Is Burrow trying to get traded? Is he trying to force a way out of Cincinnati? Because the blind man could see he quit in that game. He wasn't even trying there towards the 4th quarter, you know? So I don't know. I would be surprised if this coaching staff remains in place. I don't know if it's John and everybody else or maybe just some assistants or whatever, but I was watching a clip from Mike Preston today, and Mike and I, you know, we go back forever. And Mike was saying, where's the accountability? All right. If John's not accountable, then those coordinators are. And maybe the fire should be under those coordinators' asses right now, especially offense. You know, you got these 2 premier weapons, and it just seems like you're not even using them. And I don't understand a lot of what this season was about. But I tell you what, I'm glad to see 2025 come to an end. I've had enough of this damn year between the Orioles and the Ravens, you know.
No kidding.
But I don't know. I'm not big on firing coaches. I don't think it ever accomplishes what you expect it's going to accomplish. I think John's done too good a job to be fired. But I'm not sure about those assistants, and I'm really not sure about those coordinators because, you know, where else are you going to place the blame, right?
Right. Well, Mike and I had this discussion probably about a month and a half ago, right before the winning streak started. And we predicted, based on the schedule, what we thought was going to happen. And, I mean, we're right here where we thought, except for the loss on Thanksgiving. I thought they would win that game, but they came out flat. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, do I look foggy to you?
You do. You do look a little foggy.
I got a
There you are.
There we go. There we go.
Bright and sunshiny.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Right to the car wash.
All right. So, based on what had happened there, I had thought once Lamar got injured that John almost had a pass this year. And then what's happened since then? And they've kind of gotten new life. So if they don't really take advantage of it, Bruce, I'm not sure that pass is there anymore.
I don't know. Bisciotti likes him a lot. If you remember, Bisciotti went way out on a limb to hire him. Nobody knew who the hell John Harbaugh was, you know, and he's had him for 17 years. So there's obviously a bond there. But Bisciotti made his money in the personnel business, you know. That's what he made billions at that, temporary work and stuff like that. So he understands people and he understands performance. And nobody can be satisfied with the performance this year. There were a lot of people hurt earlier in the season, but hell, they won 5 in a row, you know, and you figure, okay, there's a corner turn, but then Thanksgiving and then the Steeler game the week after. And then, you know, you basically hit the wall. John Harbaugh doesn't play, you know, but it's at his feet, whether he wants it to be or not, you know, the collapse of this team. They got a lot of work to do also, you know. I mean, I'm a big fan of Eric DeCosta. He did get Hamilton and Zay Flowers in back-to-back years. You got to tip your cap to that. But I truly think they went into this season with this offensive line the way the Orioles went into last season with their starting rotation, you know, with fingers really crossed. Boy, we hope.
That's a great analogy.
Well, that's exactly what happened. And you can't win on hope in the National Football League. And so what has happened? Your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, who you're paying all this money to, has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different injuries to his lower body. Why? Because he's getting beat to death. Who's responsible for that? I'm just saying. I mean, I believe loyalty and all of that, but there's a mess here, and somebody's got to be held accountable for this.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen coordinators come and go. under John's watch, but eventually, like you said, it falls on the foot of John. And I always thought John was a great leader of men. And he was very good at choosing people to know what they're doing and kind of delegating those responsibilities as a former special teams coach. I didn't think he really had his imprint on the game necessarily offensively or defensively, but obviously he's involved in the decision-making process. But something's going on with that offense this year with Todd Monken, whether it's play calling, whether it's the offensive line and him trying to adjust his play calling for the fact that he doesn't have much of an offensive line, whether Lamar needs to get the ball out quicker or not. That's been a question, obviously, too. But somewhere in that triad of things, something's going wrong.
Asking Lamar to get the ball out quicker, that's taking his game away.
Right.
What's his game? He improvises. He that's his game. He's not gonna be able to flick it like that. It's just not who he is. The thing that baffles me is Henry. It's like it runs hot and cold. Like even last Sunday, Henry would get 10 carries in a quarter, and then you wouldn't see him for a while. That's what I don't understand. You got Derrick Henry, and he's healthy. Run him. Why do I have to sit there and holler that at my TV? I don't know. But I do know this also. I've been around the NFL enough close up to understand that I don't know anything I'm seeing when I watch the game. Okay? Seriously. The game is that intricate and so many things going on. It's like the centipede. You flip it over and all the legs are going. That's exactly what pro football is. And so I'm not going to criticize individual calls or anything like that, but on a more of a superficial basis, why aren't we seeing more Derrick Henry? Look, it's too late now. The season's over. Anybody that thinks they're going to beat the Patriots, Packers, and Steelers 3 in a row is crazy. It's just not going to happen. My guess is they're going to finish they could lose all 3 of those, but I'll be generous. Let's say they lose 2 of the 3. Well, that makes you what? Public school math, whatever it is. But,
yeah. So what is that? 9 and
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Something. I don't know.
I'm a gym teacher. I don't do the math, but so hey, Jason,
there would be no math, but that's okay.
Jason, you mind if I do the rundown with you and Bruce here?
Absolutely.
Bruce, do you mind participate? This is something we call the rundown. I just do a couple topics, just kind of throw out your quick answer, whatever you think comes to the top of your head. Right. I'm just going to do a quick rundown with you and Jason. You guys give me what you think, right? So what % chance do you give the Ravens to make the playoffs?
You can go first, Bruce.
Me?
You can go first.
I don't want to be a wise ass and say 0. So, okay, 17%. 17%. Okay.
I try to keep my homerism away, but I'm going to say 39%. A little more hopeful.
These are anemic numbers.
Right.
Oh man, I'm not excited. So let's switch gears to the Orioles. Give me the name of a reliever that's still on the market that you'd like to see the Orioles sign. Jason, let's start with you on this one.
Oh man. Who do I want them to sign, or who do I think they're going to sign?
Well, we can go either way with it.
I'm going to Google.
I'm going to Google.
Hey, absolutely.
Oh, I can't remember the guy I was thinking. He's a lefty. He pitched for the Cubs last year, Mike. I think he was with the Red Sox at one point. He's been around. That's the guy. I just can't think of his name.
Hey, Mike, way to stump us here. Way to go.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Say, until,
how about any pitcher? Can we go with any pitcher? Any pitcher, I'm going to go Celebrity Jeopardy style. Well, any pitcher that the Orioles could sign.
I like that Rangel Suarez quite a bit, and apparently they're close to signing him. He's durable, and he throws hard, and he's won. He's won a lot, and this team needs that. Alonso's going to make a big difference in the clubhouse and with his performance. And then, the other trade, when they got rid of G-Rod, that guy had 34 home runs last year. So you brought in over 70 home runs to add to your lineup. That's impressive. But they get a top-of-the-line starter with the guys they got coming back, and I think they're going to surprise just about everybody. I think it's not a last-place team. It wasn't a last-place team last year. But it's all going to hinge on the young core guys, and are they going to perform? Because they all basically flopped last year, and it was hard to watch. And that's the one thing about Mike Elias, and I know he's kind of a lightning rod. Mike Elias has proven that he can draft players and get them to the major leagues. He has proven that beyond the shadow of a doubt with this roster, right? What he hasn't proven is that team can win. That's what he hasn't shown us. So I'm glad I'm seeing these aggressive moves in the off season, because it does show me that his head's in the game now, and let's see where it can go. I mean, hell, you're in the American League East. I mean, you might have a fight, you know.
Mike, I'm going to say, because I thought of the guy's name, Drew Pomerantz is who I think they should sign for a reliever. But I don't think they're going to spend money on relief pitchers at this point. I think they're going to bring guys up, maybe grab somebody that's still out there late.
Yeah.
But Ranger Suarez, for me, is who I think they're going to be leaning towards. I would love to say Michael King, but I think he just got really, really popular with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And depending on who you listen to, it's like the Orioles. And so I'm going to say Ranger Suarez.
And I guess he has some roots in Boston too, and so I guess it's going to be hard to pry him away from there, maybe. And he obviously has history with the Yankees. My guy I'd like to see is Danny Coulomb. I wouldn't mind seeing a reunion there.
They should have let him get away in the first place.
Yeah, I don't understand that, and I hope that maybe they consider going out and getting Danny back.
He won't be very expensive either.
Well, he's consistent, and he's a left-hander, and he throws strikes.
Right.
And those are three very important things for a bullpen guy to me.
Right, for sure. All right, Maryland basketball. Maryland men's basketball. I thought they competed, really well in that first half versus Michigan. Farrell Payne gets hurt. You could see the air kind of drop out a little bit. There's some emotional plays where they get some technical fouls that were maybe kind of questionable. And then obviously Michigan they scored, it seemed like, every other time down the court. They just were a really good team. So they have the next 4 games at Virginia. They have ODU, Bruce. They have, which is,
screw ODU. Screw ODU.
That's right.
You know what? I'm a VC. You got screw University of Richmond. All right, let's go.
There we go. Spiders. Let's squish those
ODU
two.
and Richmond. Don't ever bring them up.
Right. And then Oregon is their next 3 at home. So what do you think they do over the next 3 games at Virginia, ODU, and Oregon at home?
I'm still trying to get a feel for this team. I feel like I don't know this team at all, and I've seen them play 4 or 5 times now. Every coach in America, it has to do what Buzz Williams did, and that's come in and basically put a new team together every single year. And the thing that's holding Buzz back is he got into it late. He brought some talent from Texas A&M with him, and then he got the best of what was left. I think this is going to be the type of team that we don't see its real identity until after the first of the year. I'm holding everything open on the Terps right now because I just haven't seen enough of them, as a unit, and I haven't seen them win tough games, and I haven't seen them do anything I need to do. I hated the way they faded the other night. That was not a good sign. It wasn't at all.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's a real good team too. I mean, it's the fact that they were in there that long. I mean, if I had to say it, I'd say they go 2-1. They grab 2 of those games. They go 2-1. But depending on Farrell Payne, how long he's out, what the deal is, I mean, could go down to 1. But I'd say 2-1 would be my guess.
Okay. Who gets the top seed in the AFC and NFC playoffs?
Bruce?
The Patriots. It's what right now. It's the Patriots and the Bears. No, who's the number 1 seed in the NFC?
The Broncos are the
Broncos.
The AFC,
Broncos,
right?
yeah. Broncos are really good. What I saw from them this weekend, that's a team that can win the whole damn thing. So I think that they're a legitimate 1 seed. New England is going to be very popular, but this first year they've done this. They still don't really know where they are yet. So I would say definitely Denver. In the NFC, man.
That NFC West is tough. It's kind of like the Wild West out there.
Oh, the NFC West and NFC North too. I mean, those are 2 meat grinders. So I think the number 1 seed is going to come out of one of those 2 divisions. But I think right now it's probably the Rams until they show me something different.
Yeah, so the question about the Patriots seems to be, like, they've won all the games they're supposed to win.
Yeah.
They're well coached, but they haven't beaten anybody that's really on their way to the playoffs, right? Except for the Bills, perhaps. Just because of that, I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think you're right. We're very well coached, especially this time of year. And I like the Rams out of the West. Again, I mean, the Rams could very easily make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of warts in Philly. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams in the
The other thing about the Broncos is that their quarterback's still on a rookie contract. You know,
right.
you got about 3 more seasons out of him. And if you remember, the Seahawks went to 2 Super Bowls with Russell Wilson that way. So they can load up, and they probably will. I kind of like their chances. I really do.
Well, in the same breath, the Patriots could do the same thing, right?
How clutch was hiring Vrabel from New England. It's so rare that a team gets it exactly right. You know, Tennessee was dumb for hiring him or firing him in the first place. It wasn't the coach's fault what happened in Tennessee. And he even played for the Patriots. You know, this whole thing couldn't have worked out any better. And look how he's got him playing. It's probably the best feel-good story in the NFL this year.
That's right.
He's a great coach, and I think Sean Payton should get some credit too for what he's done in Denver. I mean, I think you shed all that money, get rid of the quarterbacks that were there, and you come in and you kind of build it from scratch. That defense obviously was pretty good, and they've just added. It's a great team. I think that they're great and they're going to have a good run.
They impressed me.
Obviously,
they did.
Quarterback play is going to be big in both of those situations. What did Bo Nix and what did Drake May bring in the playoffs? That's going to be the big question, I think, when it comes down to, hey, when they face Josh Allen, can they win those big games?
Yeah.
And that's going to be fun to watch.
I have something I want to hold on. Let me throw something in real quick.
Go ahead, Jen.
Here's something, not because of their quarterback play necessarily, but what about Houston and that defense and what that defense is able to do to the rest of the league? I'm not saying they're ready to make a run to the Super Bowl, but to be able to do a couple things in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're close. Aaron Wilson covers them now. And we're close friends and we talk all the time. The 2 hardest things for an NFL team to do is to find the right head coach and the right quarterback. Right. Houston has got both of those things. Okay, so that's a major step up, and then they've got that defense. I don't know how much noise they're going to be able to make this year. I do think they're going to go to the playoffs, but I think in the years to come, the next 2 or 3 years, if they make some wise moves and draft pretty well, I think they're right on the verge because I love that quarterback. I remember at Ohio State, we saw him so many times, and man, he's good. If he can just stay healthy. But Houston's a team nobody's talking about, but people really should be, Yeah,
AFC is getting kind of scary. And so the one team I'm going to talk about next, a guy suited up who's just a little older than me this weekend, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to see the day that came. And my question for you guys, can he take them to the playoffs, and can he win a playoff game at age 44?
Why not? Why not? I love seeing a fat guy out there, first of all. Talk about dad bods. There's
dad bods. Yes.
He's been coaching high school football in Mobile, where I used to live, and I know a bunch of people down there, and he's recruiting, and he's got everything going. He's got 10 kids, 10 kids. Honestly, he could probably use the paycheck for playing a couple games. 10 kids. But he didn't look like the old Phillip Rivers last Sunday, but even 75% of the old Phillip Rivers is still pretty good.
If I had 10 kids, I'd unretire immediately as well, I feel like.
Just to get out of the house.
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, his wife might be the winner here. She finally gets a break from good old Phil for a little bit, It's like no more babies happening over there.
Oh my God. Well, he's from Decatur, Alabama, and I don't know anybody from Decatur that wasn't horny as hell, So there you go. It's an interesting story, how he ended up at NC State. Being from Alabama, Alabama and Auburn are all over him. They're all over him. But Bobby Bowden was still at Florida State, and every quarterback wanted to go down there, right? So his offensive coordinator was recruiting Phillip, and he got the head coaching job at NC State. And Phillip Rivers followed him to NC State. NC State doesn't ordinarily get quarterbacks like that. They really don't. And then they're lucky it was even extended. This is an even better story. Tyrod Taylor and Russell Wilson are the same age. They're both from Virginia. Virginia Tech was on both of them real hard. They signed Tyrod. They back off on Russell Wilson.
Wow.
How about that one?
So NC State lucks out again. That's crazy. So John chimes in online. He says that he doesn't have the arm strength to push the ball down the field anymore. Jason, do you agree with that, or what do you think?
I do. And, I think because Indy's lost those last couple games, I don't think they're out mathematically. But as far as how well Jacksonville's playing and with Houston making a surge, I just think Indy's going to kind of fall short. It'd be a cool story. But no, But see, here's the other thing though. They've designed that whole playbook right now around him not having to go all the way down the field, and it's still working out a little bit. But I mean, I think it's a good story, but I don't think it has too many legs.
Well, it's like Goose said on Hard Knocks. He said, they criticizing his time in the 40, and he said, if there's ever a play where I have to run 40 yards and something real bad has happened,
Oh my gosh!
And you can kind of say the same thing about Rivers having to throw deep. It's probably something bad has probably happened if you could ask him to do that.
Oh, that's funny.
That's terrific.
Well, the Goose story was connected to Billick told him to come in at 315 pounds, not 1 ounce over. Goose starved himself for 11 days. 11 days he didn't eat a single thing, and he got down to like 312. And he went bouncing into it. He went straight into Brian's office, and he said, "Brian, I'm 312 pounds. Let me get on that scale." Billy said, "No, I believe it."
Oh, no.
Didn't make him weigh in.
Well,
Man,
Mike,
that team was so much fun, that first Super Bowl team. I mean, with Goose and Shannon Sharp, if you're a media guy, that's your whole day right there.
Right.
Anything else you get is extra. And then Adalis Thomas, his locker, he was a rookie. His locker was in between Goose and Cornell Brown, who was also, you could get papers on Cornell Brown, certifiably crazy. I have no idea how that rookie survived dressing between those two guys in that tiny old locker room they used to have. It was crazy, but man, that was a great team to cover. The quarterbacks mess with each other all season long. I remember being in a scrum at somebody's locker and somebody's going in my pocket, and I looked and Tony Banks had put Dilfer's socks in my pocket.
That's terrific.
They had that going all year long, but it was a happy team. It was a happy locker room, and good leadership. And I think the world of Brian. I can't believe he didn't coach anymore after that. I mean, just a brilliant, brilliant man. He met his wife. He was a tight end, and Dallas signed him as an undrafted free agent, and so they were cutting him, and he had to go to the GM's office, and he's sitting there in the GM's office waiting to be cut, and he starts talking to the secretary, GM secretary, and that's his wife to this very day.
Oh wow!
How about that?
That's terrific. Yeah, that's great.
I miss him. He was a good man, and he won, and he led that team well. When Ted Marchibroda left, it was kind of disarray. They were still the new guys, and there was, they needed. And Brian came in and got it right in a hurry, and he doesn't get enough credit for that. He really doesn't.
No, I would agree.
There's a lot of personalities to manage on that team.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to hijack your questions for a second because I want to do a follow-up on this, Bruce.
Right.
The 30 for 30 that came out about that team, what were those? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer, Shannon Sharp, Hall of Famer, Ray Lewis, Hall of Famer. I mean, I'm probably missing some other, John Ogden, Hall of Famer. What were the personalities like? Why did those are some big personalities. How did it all work?
Well, Goose and Shannon entertained everybody. And if you watched Hard Knocks, Ray was attached to Shannon at the hip. They were just everywhere they went, it was together. So they kept some stuff going, and Goose kept some stuff going, and it was always fun like that. And frankly, the rest of the guys were entertained. That's what made it such a happy team, is because these two guys would just entertain them all day long. And in the old complex, you could walk around. I mean, in the new complex, you're going to prison if you go where you're at. But in the old complex, you can just walk around. I'd look in those meeting rooms, and they'd all be sitting there like this because either Goose or Shannon had said something, And great team. The greatest player on the team was very young, and so you had two guys that kind of took him under their wing, and the whole thing worked out. That defense, you can research it. 6 number ones, 6 number one draft defense. Pretty easy to be good when you get that kind of talent, huh?
Right. I mean, the push they had from the up front, from the middle, and then from the ends with McCrary and Burnett. I mean, if you're building a team, ideally, even today, if you're building a defense, I mean, that's pretty much exactly what you would want to do.
And the key to the whole thing on that team was Goose and Sam Adams, who were both massive. They would tie up as many offensive linemen as they could so that Ray could go east to west. And that's how that team worked. It wasn't hard to figure out. Ray's rookie year, we're going up to New York for a preseason game, and Art chartered a train to go up to New York, which is a great way to travel. It was wonderful. So we had a little bit of time, and I arranged to sit with Marvin Lewis, who was the brand new defensive coordinator. He was nervous. He didn't talk to the media much. And I said, Marvin, I don't have a microphone or anything. I said, let's just talk. So all the way up there, we talked. And I said, tell me about Lewis. Tell me about this kid linebacker. Everybody's talking about him. What makes him special? And Marvin says he wants to make every single freaking tackle, except he didn't say freaking.
Right.
He wants to make every single one. And I thought about that when Ray retired, and he played that way his entire career. He wanted to make every single tackle, and that's what made him stand apart. He's the best player I've ever seen. I mean, I'll be honest.
Me too.
I've seen some good ones, but there was nobody like Ray. That's why I got here in '91, and geez, Memorial Stadium closes in '91. Camden Yards opens in '92. Okay. Then the Stallions come along in '94. Then the Ravens come in '96. And then we get that new stadium in '98. And this is all in the first 10 years that I'm here. So I'm pretty lucky that way too. I really am. Oh, and don't leave out Gary Williams. In that national championship. It's been a special time. It really has.
What type of relationship did you have with Gary? Did you get down there much?
I did his weekly show.
That's right.
Well, it was just 1 year, but so that you're his boy then. He knows you then. And so Gary and I were great. We had a good time. He's a hell of a coach. I really think he could have coached longer, but I kind of admired him for walking away. He just didn't want to anymore. And really, when you see the coaches that are quitting now, like Saban and Jay Wright at Villanova, they don't want to deal with this new reality that college sports is. And I mean, we could do a whole other show on that.
Right.
What are we creating here? Is this some kind of new minor league, or what's it going to be? Because the kids aren't going to school anymore. They're paying them. You don't have to go to class, so you got mercenaries representing your university. It kind of reminds me. Did you see the 30 for 30 about the Big East?
Yes.
About how football kidnapped the Big East and just ran away with it.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of what's happening here. With college sports, there's going to be a reckoning. And the whole thing's going to fall apart. It's going to have to. It can't sustain itself. It just can't. I mean, you got Maryland in the Big Ten getting $100 million a year from the Big Ten. That's their share. That's why they left the ACC. And then you got, say, like Morgan, trying to play. And God only knows what their budget is. You know what I mean? Morgan is what college sports is supposed to be, not right. What we have now. I worry about it, and I think the whole thing's going to come crashing down. And the reason I mentioned the Big East 30 for 30 is the Big East was resurrected by non-football playing schools that just want to play high-level basketball. That's probably what's going to happen with college sports after the whole thing collapses. You're going to have colleges band together that just want to have amateur sports again, and that's probably what we're going to have. But this thing is completely out of control. Look, you hand an 18-year-old kid $1 million, you might as well hand him a stick of dynamite in a match.
That's right.
You're with kids all the time, right? How many girls do you know that you'd hand $1 million to? Probably not too many.
Zero. None of my children either when they get that age.
Yeah. Well, my children don't worry about that with me.
I saw something on social media. I was looking at something on social media about, is it Raiola, the quarterback from Nebraska? Yeah. Who he has moved high schools 3 times and colleges twice now. He's in the transfer portal already, and the kid's only a kid. It's like, I think you're right, Bruce. Something's gonna change.
Talking about Buzz Williams earlier. How would you like a job as a coach where you have to come in and completely rebuild every year? Completely rebuild your entire roster. And if it's that bad in basketball, imagine what it's like in football. Right? It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, that piggybacks on my next question, actually. So the Heisman Trophy went out to Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, which was refreshing to see a new school represented by the Heisman Trophy winner. When he becomes a pro next season, is he going to be more like the Tim Tebow, or is he going to be more like Joe Burrow? How's that going to work out for Fernando? What's your thoughts?
I don't mean to be critical, but I swear, and I've seen that kid play a lot, I swear I see Joe Flacco. I see Joe Flacco. He's got the big arm. He can make all the throws. He moves like a file cabinet, And guys like that don't last too long in the NFL. I tell you the guy I like the Vanderbilt guy a lot. If some team is brave enough to bring a squirt in there like that, he's going to win some ball games for you. he's an NFL type quarterback now. He's just about this tall, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But I think of the 4 that I saw in there, I think he might have the best chance, seriously. But
Jason?
it all comes down to who drafts you and how screwed up their organization is. And if you're a high draft pick, you're getting picked by a screwed up organization. It's like Derek Queen. I'm watching Derek Queen with great interest down there in New Orleans. Think, go, man, this is great. You're from Baltimore, St. Francis, all that. And then the other half of me says, yeah, but it's New Orleans.
Right.
And they're going to ruin him, and he's going to hang out with Zion, who's never healthy, and that's going to be bad. And oh man, these are the things that come to my mind.
Oh, who do I think, Mike? Can I choose someone in between?
Sure, you're welcome to
I
your.
don't know. Like a less, depending on where they put who takes them, maybe a less productive Sam Darnold, maybe ish. I don't know.
Maybe a Mariota type. I don't know.
It's tough with rookie quarterbacks. It just
Yeah.
is. Anymore
as a backup,
people have a tendency to give up on them after a year, or and that's stupid too. So I don't know.
I mean, there are some really good young offensive-minded head coaches out there that if one of them decides that they want to do it, maybe the Rams trade up for somebody because they're going to need a quarterback in a year or two. Who knows? I mean, that's the right offensive mind you'd be looking for.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm trading up for a quarterback this year.
I would. I don't think I would.
Maybe
either.
next year. That might be prudent.
I mean, they have the 8th. Don't they have the 8th pick?
think so.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of
Sure.
Atlanta.
And Arch Manning announced that he's not coming out, so I think that makes it even more slim pickings when it comes to quarterbacks.
You mean Arch? Let me drop my suitcases off on my way to Canton and the pro football.
Right.
That guy is just taking a knee in Texas for a couple of years. That guy, yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Hype.
Steve Sweeney online says that Mendoza reminds him of Jared Goff. That's what he says. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Pre-McVay or post-McVay?
Find a tall, slim quarterback. That's who he's going to remind everybody of. But Indiana is a story, and we were talking about college athletics a minute ago. This is a story that's not being told at all. That Coach Kurt Signetti, he was at James Madison and built them into a power. Then he gets the Indiana job, and 20 of his players go with him. And that was his base at Indiana, and he knows how to work the transfer portal. And, I'm not being critical, but he knows how the game's being played right here, right now. And that's why they're undefeated,
Yeah, I mean, Mike's asked me every single week, essentially, do you believe in Indiana yet? And every week I said no. Well, I mean, I guess I have to now. They're number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, and their running back is from John Carroll. I played at Maryland last year. Roman Hemby. I heard he got $800,000 to go to Indiana.
Wow.
I'd go play a season for $800,000. How about you?
Sure. I don't know how long it lasts, but why not?
I bet you I didn't make $800,000 the first 15 years of my TV career. I bet you.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's outstanding.
No, it wasn't outstanding at all.
No. In reality, probably not.
No.
Mike, do you have any more?
All right. Well, how about one more? You guys have time for one more? Let's do one more.
One more.
Let's say, what do you think was the best off-season move so far in Major League Baseball? For any team, it doesn't have to be Orioles related, signing wise or trade wise. What was the move you've seen that had the most impact on next year's 2026 MLB season?
Alonso aside, because I really think Alonso is one of the biggest moves that was made this offseason. It's got the potential to turn a franchise around. But I was really impressed with Toronto spending money on another pitcher. The strength of that team was their starting rotation, and you really didn't have to add to it, but they added quality to it, and they spent some money to do it. So that to me was huge because everybody in the American League East now is bulking up, man. Those 4 starters weren't going to be enough. And let's see who Elias comes back with too, because I think he might get a bullpen piece as well. Ownership is willing to spend some money, and until they say no, spend that money. Go get them. But I really like the Toronto. I think that was a gutsy thing by them, and it was something that surprised me. And I'm getting harder to surprise as I get older.
It's so hard to just pick one because a lot of the big boys are still out there dangling around, right? So I mean, you could say Alonso, Schwarber. Cease, they could all be tied for big moves as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the only thing I have with Cease, that the fact that Toronto went out, identified what they think they needed, they
Yeah.
got their guy. I'm not sure he is better than the other free agent pitchers that are there, but they did identify their man. Just like, well, I guess the Orioles identified their second favorite player, but that's okay. Just go out and get your guys, keep your guys, and all three of those teams have done that. So, Mike, I'm kind of in a log jam with all three.
Gotcha. I'm impressed that the Dodgers went out and got Edwin
Yeah.
Diaz just because that is the glaring weakness on their team last year. And what do the Dodgers do? They go ahead and find the best player possible, and they fill that need with that player. And when you have all that money, I guess that's just what you do. But it was a good move by the Dodgers.
They're the gold standard right now. They're doing everything right. You know, they're like the Yankees were in the 70s. You know, I mean, they got the best team, and they win it every year. And they're way over the luxury tax threshold. They don't seem to care. So
Don't care.
Be interesting to see after that next CBA if they're able to fight off that salary cap again, because in baseball it's getting out of control. You know, I mean,
right.
you're having teams go out of business and stuff. So they got to address that. But I also think they're going to walk out over it too next year. So you know, I'm not very hopeful.
Well, the last thing I wanted to touch on, Bruce, we talked a lot about the Ravens. A lot.
Yeah.
I know you were over there an awful lot, spent a lot of time there, but you also spent a lot of time around the Orioles.
Yeah.
So that being said, over the years, what kind of what stories do you have about the Orioles? Who was your favorite guys to cover? Just tell me your experiences there.
Baseball and football at the major league level are two different animals, because in baseball the media is there every day, you know, in the clubhouse, you know, before the game and after the game, and you're right up in their face. So that tends to make them lean back a little bit. So you don't really make that many friends with baseball players. I was friendly with B.J. Surhoff. I was friendly with Brady Anderson. Paul Mero was a really nice guy, and you know, we all liked Adam Jones and that. But then there were some serious big time jerks. You know, I mean, sometimes the Orioles just weren't fun to cover. Like, I'm going to shock you. But, you know, the biggest jerk that I covered with the Orioles, it was always difficult and never easy to do. Mike Messina.
I knew you were going to say that. I've heard the same thing.
And I'll tell you, as the years have gone by, I've thought about it more and more. And that nasty attitude is probably what made him such a good pitcher. You know, seriously, a pitcher's got to kind of have that. But he was hard to deal with. And they had him and Albert Bell on the same roster. And I would put that roster up with my media friends, unfriendly rosters. There you go. Mike Messina and Albert Bell. Top that if you can, you know. But, you know, it was I'll tell you a funny story. In 97, we went out to 97. They went out to Seattle for the playoffs. And it was the first time I ever seen baseball inside. It was in the Kingdom. And if you've ever seen baseball, if you've never seen it, it's just the sounds that baseball makes. They don't sound right inside. So there was a big adjustment. So this is going to be a long story, but I'm going to tell it fast. I went out there with a guy named Eric Kettering, photographer. So we get out there and we go to the Kingdom, and we find out if you want to go live, you've got to take your cable and you've got to take a panel out of the wall, and you got to crawl on all fours for 60 feet and plug in. So Eric was faced with this every day, okay? And he's not happy about it at all. So the day before that series starts, we're doing a story, a report from there, and I'm doing what we call a stand-up, you know. And right in the middle of it, it feels like a million bees all stung me in the foot. Armando Benitez, who, if you remember, threw a million miles an hour, one got away and he hit me right in the foot.
Oh.
Well, at that point, Elrod Hendricks, he was another great one. Elrod becomes my press agent. He goes to everybody in the media. You see that? You see that? You see that? You see that? And he comes over to me, puts his arm around me. He says, "Now you know how we feel." And I said, "Elrod, honestly, I don't want to know how you feel." So
Yeah, that's good.
It rained every day. You know, it was just miserable. So we get on the plane to fly back, and it's full of those Promise Keeper guys. And they're on their way to some kind of, and one of them's got a guitar. And so for 5 hours from Seattle to Baltimore, Michael rowed the boat ashore. That was the worst. That was just god awful. It was horrible. And my foot hurt the whole time. You know?
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, it's just like I said, though, it's different. You know, the Orioles and the Ravens. The Ravens, you have more of a time to be around them and become friends. Like several of the Ravens are great friends of mine, Wally Williams, and I mentioned Anthony Weaver earlier. You know, you have more of an opportunity. And then I used to do the Jerry Lewis telethon, and you could get guys to come on. You know, the guys that had big hearts, you know, like Ed Molitalo would always come on, Weaver would always come on, guys like that. So you had more of an opportunity to see them away from the ballpark, and you just really never had that, you know, with the Orioles. You never did.
Oh, well, that's great. And I mean, Bruce, I think I speak for Mike. I mean, we could do this all day long. These are some.
Seems like we have.
I know. I was going to say, we're going to definitely have to have you on again because there's so much more that I think we could delve into that we haven't even touched the surface on. Just great stories. I mean, I really, really appreciate you giving us the time. I mean, just for our small little show here that we're trying to do something, you know.
Well,
but we appreciate it.
This is literally what I had to do today. Okay. Just keep that in mind. It's not like I'm really putting myself out, you know. I make up the week. Well, Tuesday, I said I'd do the podcast. It's not.
Yeah. Bruce,
before we go, I do want
go ahead.
Real quick. All of us in the media, we lost a really good friend, Robert Popick. Everybody called him Woody. He played the music at both stadiums for years and years and years. He was my next door neighbor at the Ravens games. And if you follow me on Facebook, Woody could really eat. And I would always take pictures of his plate, you know, whether he would pile on. But Woody got pancreatic cancer, and it killed him in 6 weeks. And we're going to the funeral on Thursday. So it was just a really, really sad thing. Anybody that knew him loved him. I remember at Ravens games, the fans used to come up to his window and bribe him with cookies to play certain songs. You know?
Oh, that's funny.
But if you think I lived a life, I mean, Woody, he had a DJ business and did weddings, and then he did Orioles games and Ravens games, and that's how he made his living. And I told him, I said, you know, you're on more of a bigger path than me. You know, you talk about But I just wanted to remember.
No, I appreciate it. I did an internship with the Orioles in the ticket department, and I got to know him and played on the same softball team. And
he's unique, isn't he?
Yeah, had me cracking up a lot. Great guy, though. Great guy.
So Bruce, you're still out there on the radio. Let everybody know kind of what you got going on now, and maybe if we can still hear you, where we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm still doing the Saturday show. You know, I've been doing a show at noon on Saturday, I think, since 96, 95, no, 94. I mean, over on that time slot. But I'm on 105.7 The Fan, and Saturdays from noon to 2. And then Mike Popovic follows me. They want me to do a lot more at the radio station, but I don't want to do a lot more at the radio station. And honestly, it feels good to be able to say no every once in a while, because I said yes an awful lot over the years. So, yeah, every Saturday, noon to 2, unless Maryland's playing. And that's all I'm doing now. It's fun.
Well, that's terrific. Well, again, thank you very much, Bruce. We've really appreciated it. We'll hopefully have you back on here soon. And for Michael Frisky, for Bruce Cunningham, Baltimore, he loves you madly. I'm Jason Weisbecker. You guys will see you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your free podcasts. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It really helps us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Follow us on social media for more behind-the-scenes actions, memes, and bad sports takes. You can find us at Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Instagram, and Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on our Facebook page. Until next time, keep rocking those Dad Bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.